So what an exciting time to be studying and learning about spinal cord injuries and those affected by spinal cord injuries. Exciting time because the treatment to assist those with spinal cord injuries, particularly in trauma centers, and to decrease the swelling of the spinal cord at the time of injury quickly and hopefully reduce the long-term complications from spinal cord injury, specifically meaning loss of key use of muscles, loss of sensation. So the advances in our ability, medical technology, in our interventions, particularly as a healthcare community, have really changed dramatically in the last 20 years, where 20 years ago getting a broken neck would be seen often cases of paralysis, and that was just kind of the determination. But thankfully, again, now to surgeries and interventions by the healthcare community, advances in research, individuals with spinal cord injury can have better outcomes. Now, this is not to say that there are not complete spinal cord injuries. There are, and there are some cases, depending upon the nature of the spinal cord injury, that can't be reversed with a simple surgery. Timing is important, timing to get care. But where we're at as PTAs is we are assisting the patient based on the PT evaluations and PT goals in reaching their highest level of function based on their level of injuries. So with these changes in terms of imaging, the surgical techniques, the quick use of ventilation systems to help people that have had higher spinal cord injuries, people are surviving with higher spinal cord injuries, such as, probably heard about Christopher Reeves, Superman, and other individuals that have C2, C3 spinal cord injuries. When I was out of school, people having a higher than C4 spinal cord injury you just didn't survive generally because of difficulties related to breathing. Outcomes were considered to be poor, and so it was just kind of predicted that the outcomes ultimately would be unfavorable. Not so much today. However, those higher spinal cord injuries, certainly the risk of mortality is greater than lower spinal cord injuries. And people, as I said before, do have spinal cord injuries that are complete, meaning that there's no innervation below. You'll meet a few individuals out in clinic that have had complete spinal cord injuries. So and Umfred has this laid out as well on page 271, page 272. I've mapped it out here. I think the more you see it in different formats, the better you're going to learn it. Where people get confused is that, for example, like a C5, what it means is that you are injured at this level of the spinal cord, and these are the muscles that are present at that level and above. Okay, so if I have a C5 complete spinal cord injury, I'm going to have these muscles, which includes these muscles above, right? The scalenes and sternocleidomastoid, the trapezius, the diaphragm, in addition to having innervation of biceps and brachioradialis, etc. I'm not going to have anything below, and this is where people get confused. That's the difference between a complete and an incomplete. An incomplete means that you may have some level of innervation below. Not completely, but some. And there's a spectrum there, and that's where people get a little hung up too. They're like, well, what spectrum? How much are they going to have below? That's where you go to the ASIA impairment scale, and that tool is used not by PT, We don't administer the tool, but we learn from the tool what function the person has by use of that ASIA impairment scale. So I like this, how it's mapped out. It not only talks about the muscles present, but also the type of transfer that is likely for this individual based on the spinal cord injury. And this, again, is complete. That's very important. We're talking about complete. So, for example, with the wheelchair, someone with a C6 injury as complete could use a power wheelchair upright with hand control, or possibly use an ultra lightweight sport manual wheelchair with friction rims. It depends upon the health of the individual, meaning what can they manipulate. I have a friend whose mother is obese, she's diabetic, she has poor sensation in her hands as a result of diabetes, and she has a C6 injury. She is power wheelchair only. There's no possibility that she can use a manual wheelchair, so that works for her. Take another patient, someone who is stronger, has went into the injury with good health, were strong, physically strong, are highly motivated to just be fully independent without and use those muscles they do have, okay, which includes some of those wrist extensors, using the pectoralis muscles, major muscles, particularly serratus anterior, to help propel the chair, using their radial extensors, and the latissimus dorsi muscle as well, and they are able to access the community with a manual wheelchair. It's challenging, but possible. And then also the functional capabilities. This doesn't mean everybody at C6 will be doing this, but the capabilities are plausible for someone with this level of injury, the activities of daily living. If there are abbreviations you don't quite understand, let me know. AD means assisted device. It's also sometimes used for autonomic dysreflexia, but that's not what this means in terms of functional capacities or capabilities. So I hope you find this to be quite rich and helpful. I did throw in kind of a fun little video from our friends from Pacific University, and we'll take a moment to talk about the ASIA impairment scale in just another video.